On this Sunday night, a conversation with the Prime Minister.
I'm not going to, sit by meekly as people weaken our institutions and our democracy.
From the new NAFTA.
We obviously want to get rid of those steel and aluminum tariffs. We need to.
To meeting Canada's climate targets.
We are going to be able to reach those commitments.
How? And whether 3 years in government has dampened those sunny ways. Can you be scrappy and still positive?
Absolutely. I think I can, and I think I do.
A year out from the next election, Justin Trudeau on why he says his agenda is the right one for Canada. One-on-one in our national interview.
China's a powerful country. They have the means to hit back.
A trade mission derailed as China turns up the pressure over the arrest of a Huawei executive, with Canada caught in the middle.
Full on, there's nothing we can do at this time.
Not exactly. If your bags are lost or delayed, you're entitled to cash. Why Air Canada is downplaying just how much passengers can claim. A Go Public investigation. This is The National.
It's a critical time for Justin Trudeau. He has an election coming next year and a record to defend at a time when signs of upheaval and unpredictability seem to be everywhere. Paris burns again this weekend, for some a sign of the political pitfalls of a carbon tax as the volatile price of oil puts jobs at risk here at home. And the alleged murder of a journalist living in exile continues to raise questions about one of Canada's closest Middle East allies. Tonight on The National, the Prime Minister talks about Saudi Arabia, climate change, jobs, the new NAFTA, and a lot more. And there's another immediate challenge facing the Trudeau government, Canada's part in the international affair surrounding the arrest of a top Chinese executive. Meng Wanzhou remains in custody in Vancouver, arguing tonight she's not a flight risk. And as Salima Shivji tells us, that has Canada stuck in the middle of a diplomatic tug of war.
As Meng Wanzhou waits to be back at this court for more of her bail hearing, tensions escalate at home over the fact the U.S. wants the Huawei executive extradited to face charges she violated sanctions on Iran. This weekend, China's foreign ministry had stern talks with both the U.S. and Canadian ambassadors, a warning: release Meng or face grave consequences. It's a threat that could materialize as the extradition process winds through the courts. Canada should be worried, says this former diplomat posted to Beijing.
China's a powerful country. They have the means to hit back, to hurt us, potentially in economic ways or in the suspension of visits. My guess would be if we do indeed extradite Madame Meng to the United States, that's when we would see perhaps the greatest risk of a retaliatory move of some sort.
Already the case has derailed a provincial trade mission to China. British Columbia abruptly changed its plans today and will skip the China leg of its Asian tour. But Canada's finance minister is downplaying the threat.
We will continue to look to how we can ensure that trade between our two countries is successful. I can't comment on an ongoing legal situation.
Canada is stuck in the middle of a larger battle. Political rhetoric is ramping up in the U.S., with politicians pushing for legislation to deny Huawei access to sensitive data.
When the Chinese ask a telecom company, we want you to turn over all the data you've gathered in the country you're operating in, they will do it. No court order, nothing like that. They will just do it.
But Canada has few options to tone down the rhetoric.
The heat is being turned up by the Chinese side on a legal matter, which, due to our judicial processes and rule of law, does not allow for intervention.
A gap in how China understands Canada's laws that may be hard to bridge.
There were some documents released in a BC court late tonight about this, Salima. What can you tell us?
Well, Rosemary, in a sworn affidavit, Meng Wanzhou says she is innocent of the charges against her and she is ready to defend herself in a U.S. court if she is indeed extradited. Her company, Huawei, also states that its Iran operation did not violate sanctions, and it actually made sure of it, it says, by being in day-to-day contact with U.S. government agencies. But the court documents also reveal a main part of the argument that Meng is making to get bail as she waits for extradition. She's worried about her health. She says she suffers from hypertension and that she actually had to be taken to hospital to be treated for it after she was detained. She also says she has strong ties to Vancouver and her family would move here during the extradition process. So we'll hear more about all of these details tomorrow at a Vancouver courtroom in the morning, Vancouver time.
Okay, Salima Shivji tracking this for us in Ottawa tonight. Thank you.
To France now, where demonstrators are digging in for a long battle. And it's not just about gas taxes anymore. Their list of grievances is growing. Some want President Emmanuel Macron gone. Now, Macron will meet with local and national officials tomorrow, hours ahead of addressing his country as it recovers from a fourth weekend of mayhem, the most destructive yet. 136,000 people across France took part in this Saturday's protest. Authorities blame anarchists and extremists for much of the chaos and the damage along the Champs-Élysées. 1,200 were arrested in Paris alone. But as the CBC's Thomas Daigle found out today, most of the so-called yellow vests say they were there to protest peacefully.
Honk for change. All day, every day, they're drawing attention to their cause, a movement sometimes misunderstood, but easily recognized by their choice of fluorescent vest. Here, an hour's drive north of Paris, demonstrators have been camped out for 3 weeks. Sleeping in tents with nothing but the basics, and packing supplies and donations.
We pay so many taxes. It's impossible now to have a good life for us.
That feeling first sparked the movement. Then it grew with demands for better salaries and pensions. And now some want nothing less than to overthrow the government. They're city people, says Marc Plaquet. They don't understand us folks from the country.
It's easy to lose track of the varied demands of such a group without clear leadership, but they have it mainly spelt out on that banner back there. All together, let's increase our buying power. That's the main message.
Polls suggest 7 out of 10 French people support their cause, and they're eager to show observers overseas they're not just defined by the violence and looting. With Paris suffering chaos again yesterday, the Yellow Vests can't agree on whether the mayhem undermines their credibility or only forces the government to listen. By this morning, Paris could let its guard down for now, but battles leave scars, and that is what remains of a tear gas canister. It's easily swept away, but its impact is not. Back at the camp, they say they'll plan their next move after President Emmanuel Macron addresses the crisis tomorrow.
Macron, dégagez.
Macron, get out, scram, says Michel Poguet, and I'm kind, so I'll bite my tongue. They say they're ready to spend their holidays camped out until their growing wish list comes true. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Senlis, France.
So, Rosie, these protests were always about a lot more than fuel taxes or more than a carbon tax, and obviously France is not Canada, but the fact that Macron's fuel taxes were a trigger has to highlight the political risk for the Prime Minister.
Yeah, for sure, Adrienne. And I did ask the Prime Minister about Macron's predicament, let's call it, and clearly he had given it a bit of thought. We saw I think he's a political ally of yours, Emmanuel Macron, face this very question over the past couple of weeks. He put a surtax on fuel, riots in the street, and he had to back down. What lesson did you learn from watching that?
Well, he didn't ensure that the second part of it, you put a price on pollution, because we want less pollution, but you also make sure that ordinary Canadians are going to be able to afford this transition towards a lower carbon economy.
So it's the rebate that makes the difference.
The rebate, the support for families, and making sure that we are supporting families through this transition time is a fundamental responsibility for every government.
Just part of our wide-ranging conversation, the full interview with the Prime Minister. It's coming up in about 10 minutes.
So, the holidays can be a stressful time for air travel. There's an understatement. It does not help when your luggage gets lost or delayed. A BC man knows all about this, and in his case, Air Canada never told him he could be compensated up to $2,100. There's a law that says so, and as Erica Johnson explains, he decided to just reach out to go public.
Scott Bissell flies a lot, but when he checked his suitcase on an Air Canada flight bound for Orlando, Florida last July, it never showed up. He asked an Air Canada agent if he could buy a few basics.
Well, I actually asked her, is there any sort of compensation that she could give me while I wait for my bag? And she said no. So that was full on. There's nothing we can do at this time.
A tactic, some say, to avoid paying what Air Canada should.
By lying to passengers, the airline has nothing to reimburse or very little to reimburse because passengers are afraid to spend money.
This passenger rights advocate says dozens of countries, including Canada, have signed an international treaty called the Montreal Convention governing air travel. It states that the airlines have a legal obligation to compensate international travelers for damages caused by delayed or lost luggage, and passengers can claim up to about $2,100 Canadian. As a test, GoPublic called Air Canada's baggage call centre in India.
Thank you for calling Air Canada.
3 times.
So how much can I claim?
Each time, agents say we can only claim up to $150 US on day 1, another $50 on day 2, far short of that $2,100 Canadian limit.
How is it possible that a large corporation like Air Canada gets away with repeatedly, blatantly, flagrantly disregarding the law and yet facing no consequences?
Gabor Lukács has filed a complaint with the Canadian Transportation Agency, saying Air Canada is misleading passengers by claiming the compensation it does give is a gesture of goodwill, when it's actually a legal requirement. Air Canada declined an interview request. In a statement, a spokesperson said, "We approve reasonable interim expenses and that customers are clearly informed on their itinerary receipt and on our website." But Air Canada did not address why its agents give misleading information to passengers about how much they can claim.
And Erica Johnson joins me now from Vancouver. Always good to remind people about the Montreal Convention. It's there for their protection, but there are more rules coming in the spring, right?
Yeah, that's right, Adrienne. The airline regulator is working on a more comprehensive bill, the Passenger Bill of Rights, and it's specifically for Canadians. It's going to cover not just lost or delayed luggage, but all kinds of things like what to do if you get bumped off a flight or if your flight is delayed or canceled completely. And those regulations are expected to come in the next few months.
Okay, but between now and then, things are likely to go wrong, delayed luggage and flights and whatnot. Any advice for people?
We are heading into the holiday season, which is always madness at the airport. So if you are traveling, a couple of tips. Number 1, take a picture of your suitcase. I know that sounds silly, but it makes it easy to identify later if need be or forward it on to somebody. Make your luggage look unique. So do something like tie a ribbon around it if you've got that very common black suitcase. Attach an identity tag with your name and your phone number on it so it can get back to you. And of course, if all goes wrong, the old take it to social media, the old name and blame game, because airlines are very sensitive to bad publicity and you are more likely to get your issue looked into and possibly resolved.
Or just carry travel on. All good advice.
That's right. For all people who don't have kids, if you're traveling by yourself, that works.
Okay, thanks, Erica.
Thank you.
As for the passenger at the center of this story, after Scott Bissell submitted receipts, Air Canada did reimburse him for just over $500. If you have a story you want to see go public, get a hold of our team by sending an email to gopublic@cbc.ca.
You have to put all the presents somewhere, Adrienne. It's been 8 months since Humboldt Bronco Ryan Strzelnicki was paralyzed from the chest down in the crash that killed 16 people on a highway in Saskatchewan. But this weekend, Strzelnicki's mother, Michelle, shared that her family relived part of that nightmare, revealing that a bus taking Ryan home from physio was rear-ended, throwing him from his wheelchair and onto the floor. This time, he was not injured, but she says it's an important reminder for drivers to be especially careful on the roads this winter.
He was panicked. He was transported right back, and he was really beyond control. He couldn't pull himself out of that. It really was a gut punch from our perspective. And then trying to rationalize it for him as well. It was just, it was almost too much. Please, change your ways. It just isn't worth it. It really isn't. To anybody, I don't want any other family to get those calls. I don't want anyone else to, you know, lose a husband or wife or son, daughter, sister or brother. It's so avoidable.
Now to some developing stories we're watching tonight on The National. Okay, well, that horrific sound is familiar to Canadians, but this is the American South, North Carolina. A massive winter storm is sweeping across that region, creating hazardous roads, extensive power outages. Some places have already declared a state of emergency. And with Chief of Staff John Kelly expected to leave by the end of the year, President Donald Trump has some hiring to do. Today, his top pick says he is out of the running. Nick Ayers, who currently works for Vice President Mike Pence, is taking on a role with a pro-Trump super PAC instead. The president is reportedly considering a list of candidates, including Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker. Trump tweeted this evening that he will be making his choice soon. And the recording of the alleged killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul has been heard by intelligence agencies around the world, but the public has not had a detailed account of what's in that recording until now. A source reportedly read out a transcript to CNN. In it, Khashoggi is heard struggling against a group of people, saying repeatedly, "I can't breathe." The transcript reportedly notes Khashoggi's screams, the sounds of a saw and cutting, and several voices. One Turkish authorities say is a top official in Saudi Arabia's Interior Ministry who makes 3 calls. In the last, he's heard saying, "Tell yours, the thing is done." And Rosie, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has been briefed on those recordings. We know that. You asked him about it in your interview, right?
Yeah, that's right, Adrian. We covered a lot of ground, including Canada's response to the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. How do you say to the Crown Prince, we're pretty sure you were involved in the killing of an innocent journalist?
Oh, we say we need better answers on that. We need better accountability.
What Canada is considering when it comes to selling arms to the Saudis. Is the contract impossible to break?
Yeah, there are reflections ongoing around that.
From lessons learned.
But yeah, if I had to redo that trip, I would do it very differently.
To the next campaign. You've said that Canadians should expect the next election to be the nastiest yet. Okay, what are you going to do to prevent that? The national interview with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is next. Justin Trudeau has a clear political brand. It includes strong climate policy with a carbon tax, an emphasis on human rights, a positive, optimistic politics that he says unifies rather than divides. Well, Trudeau's re-election campaign looms in the coming year, and the brand is being tested by the record. So Trudeau has long styled himself as a sunnier breed of politician, but when I met with the Prime Minister this past week in Montreal, I saw someone very confident his agenda is right for the country and someone more than willing to hit back hard at critics who stand in the way. Crossing against the light, you know.
I'm a Montrealer. I'd lose votes if I didn't.
There's RCMP officers here, though.
They have to stick with me.
This is a great idea, this walking outside in Montreal.
Yeah.
Genius. Do you have moments where you wake up and you think, I just want to hang out with the kids today?
Yeah, pretty much every morning. But we do a pretty good job of making time for the kids on many weekends, hoping for the ice to freeze so we can get out on the lake. Just times where I remember what life's all about and why I'm doing the rest of it is to try and build a better world for them, and spending time with them is part and parcel of that.
Does that remind you of how any sentiments you had? Like, do you remember feeling that a little bit? I mean, you had mostly just your dad, right?
But it was a lot of what I'm trying to do is articulate to them in a way that my father never did.
Sure.
what they're going through, because he hadn't gone through it, but I have gone through it, and I can sort of relate to them on that and try and give my kids the tools to, you know, to appreciate the positive sides of this life and handle the negative sides.
I'm going to start with where you were around this time last week at the G20 and the signing of the new NAFTA. I know you might argue that tariffs and a trade deal are not the same thing, that they're two separate things, but it seems to me that you had some leverage there with the United States and you won't get it again. So why did you sign it even with those tariffs still in place?
Well, I think first of all, investors and businesses are extremely happy that we have settled the question of NAFTA. The question of leverage is one to reflect on. I mean, we obviously want to get rid of those steel and aluminum tariffs. We need to. We're going to continue to stand up for our workers. But we also see the path towards ratification as a place where there are continued conversations from members of Congress, from business associations in the United States, from governors who also want to see these tariffs gone, and we're going to keep working on that.
So that's the leverage then, trying to press on people around him or people in Washington?
Every step of the way, there continue to be levers to pull on, and we're going to continue to do what Canadians expect us to do, which is look at every opportunity to stand up for our interests.
You have said that the president is unpredictable. You've said that he doesn't play by the rules. Can you give me an example of how that has affected your job as Prime Minister, having someone who is so unpredictable?
Well, I think as Canadians have seen, we've continued to stay constructive in our relationship with the United States. It means that we certainly don't react or overreact when we get a surprise in a tweet or a statement. We continue to say, look, the relationship is bigger than that between any two individuals at the heads of the country.
Has it gotten easier with the president?
Yes, there's a little more understanding of what our personalities are and how we can work together.
But you're not going to hang out with them?
Canadians expect me to be professional around this, and I will continue to.
I want to move to another thing that happened at the G20. When you took some time to meet with the Saudi prince, the Saudi crown prince, MBS, you raised the issue of Raif Badawi, his sister, Jamal Khashoggi, and the war in Yemen. How does a leader respond to another leader coming up to him and saying, listen, we have some problems here? How does he respond to that?
Well, I think that very much depends on the way things are phrased. And my frame in all cases on the world stage is Canada wants to be helpful in moving us towards a better place as a planet. It's never a situation of imagining that we can stand there and tell another country what to do or how to do it. It's saying, look, it would be great if you were to do this, and we could be helpful in moving forward in a constructive way.
How do you say to the Crown Prince, we're pretty sure you were involved in the killing of an innocent journalist?
Oh, we say we need better answers on that. We need better accountability. The killing of a journalist is something that is extremely serious to Canadians, to me.
And his response to you saying that, with you knowing full well what you know about the intelligence behind it?
His response is, look, we're happy to continue to work and get more information and more proof. And if you have proof or information, continue to provide it. So that's exactly what we're doing.
And do you roll your eyes at that point?
Being a leader on the world stage involves having an ability to engage with all types of people without letting personal feelings overtake one's involuntary movements.
Have you heard the tape, or have you been briefed on what that tape is?
I have been briefed on what the tape is.
And what was that like?
Obviously, it's something that intelligence communities have taken and listened to and worked with, and is part of our reflection on getting real answers.
But could you characterize it for me?
I'm not going to characterize that.
Horrific?
I'm not going to characterize it.
You said you also made it clear to the Crown Prince that Canada stands up for human rights. How can you say that to him, knowing that we are still selling those light armored vehicles? Is there not a contradiction in that?
This is a question that comes up not just in regards to Saudi Arabia, but in regards to a broad array of countries that have different levels of defense of human rights than Canadians have and Canadians expect. We try to look for constructive ways to have relationships that lead us to being able to be very frank on human rights, while at the same time look for a way where you're not, sort of shaking your fist at someone and saying you've got to change, in an expectation that alone will have them change.
Is the contract impossible to break?
Yeah, there are reflections ongoing around that.
So just so I'm clear, though, the contract could be broken. It's possible.
As I highlighted, the contract has particular provisions both for confidentiality and around significant penalties in the billions of dollars. And it was a contract that was signed by the previous government, and we are looking at it, obviously.
You've got 4 provinces who have not complied with the carbon tax now. You're imposing it on them. Is it harder to sell the carbon tax when you have premiers saying that it is the wrong thing to do?
I think the fact that there are a bunch of conservatives out there who have decided that pollution should be free is not that difficult to counter. We're putting a price on pollution because we want less pollution, and the fact that conservatives in this country don't want to move forward on either fighting climate change or helping people ensure that we can get the good jobs in the future is a conversation I'm willing to have anytime. What we're doing with the Climate Action Incentive is making sure that a family that will have extra costs because of putting a price on pollution will be more than equivalently compensated for it.
And what is your hope in terms of how those people change their behavior? And do you have a sense of how quickly that would happen?
Well, I think we know that when you put a price on something you don't want, like pollution, well, we're putting a price on pollution, right?
It's
and
a tax, but okay.
We're making sure, well, actually, the money is going straight back to the jurisdiction. This isn't going into federal coffers. This isn't something we're going to spend on something else. We're actually giving that money back to citizens in the province in which it was raised, because we know that if you make pollution free, people are going to give out more of it. We say no. If you want to pollute, there should be a cost associated.
We saw I think he's a political ally of yours, Emmanuel Macron, face this very question over the past couple of weeks. He put a surtax on fuel, riots in the street, and he had to back down. What lesson did you learn from watching that?
Well, he didn't ensure that the second part of it, you put a price on pollution because we want less pollution, but you also make sure that ordinary Canadians are going to be able to afford this transition towards a lower carbon economy.
So it's the rebate that makes the difference.
The rebate, the support for families, and making sure that we are supporting families through this transition time is a fundamental responsibility for every government.
And yet, the United Nations says that most of the large emitting countries, including Canada, are not on track to meet Paris targets. They are calling for more urgency. So how do you respond in the face of that? Do you speed up what you're doing? Do you change what you're doing?
Actually, a lot of countries around the world are looking with a lot of interest at how Canada is moving forward on putting a price on pollution and supporting ordinary citizens through this transition. It is a model that is going to set us on a path to reach our Paris targets. We are going to be able to
the UN says
reduce
no. The UN says it's not going to happen.
We are going to be able to reach those commitments.
How?
By having a price on pollution, people will look for ways to innovate to pollute less that will effectively reduce our climate change emissions and improve outcomes.
So you will reach the Paris?
We're going to reach our Paris targets, yes.
Okay. The Alberta Premier announced a reduction on oil production to deal with these historic low prices in Alberta. She's also buying rail cars to try and find more ways out. What have you offered to her? What can you do for tens of thousands of people laid off in that sector now. Is there anything you can do?
We are absolutely looking at the tools we have around EI. We're looking at the tools we have around income support. And I'm also willing, of course, to sit down with Premier Notley and hear about how the federal government can be a partner in solving this.
But she's told you. She wanted you to buy rail cars, for instance.
That's something we're happy to look at. If that's a proposal that she thinks is going to make a significant difference, then we're happy to look at how it works. I mean, we're there to be a partner to help.
When GM announced its future shutdown of the Oshawa auto plant, you said you're going to help to get those workers back on their feet. So what would you say to those people who are, concerned that their jobs are sort of evolving away? That the jobs are not maybe the jobs of the future, well, and so, what could you do for them? It is a devastating piece of news that GM has put forward, and we're continuing to work both with GM and with folks to try and see if there isn't a path forward, whether it's new technologies that are coming in or improvements on old technologies, and that focus is something we're continuing to invest in, and that's why our investments in skills, in university, in STEM research, in bringing women into the workforce, these are the kinds of things that we're trying to help Canadians in that transition. I get that. So then why don't you just say to them, take that giant plant you have and make cars of the future? Why won't they consider? That's part of the conversation ongoing. Obviously, the President Trump and I had commiserated about this. So there are real questions about what we can do to try and make sure that that we're giving every possible support to those workers.
Thank you very much. All right.
Did that trip to India do more harm than good?
There is a number of things that came out that were very positive about that trip in terms of investments, in terms of jobs. But yeah, if I had to redo that trip, I would do it very differently.
Would you wear the outfits?
No, I probably would not. I think that was a clear. I mean, I had more suits on that trip than I had outfits, but the pictures of the outfits dominated, and certainly it was a lesson learned. And the whole attempted murderer showing up at a dinner. I know the report has come out, and you're not willing to say much about what was redacted, but it seems to me you at least have a lesson here about how you do these things. Absolutely. On every trip there are lessons to learn, ways to improve how we do things. I mean, one of the lessons on this is just how important it is that we have a National Security Committee of Parliamentarians that actually come together, all parties together, and weigh in on these issues. You've said that Canadians should expect the next election to be the nastiest yet. Okay. What are you going to do to prevent that? I'm going to continue to demonstrate that positive politics that bring people together, that not engaging in personal attacks. Canadians deserve better than politicians who play the fear and division card every time they can. Do you practice what you preach? I certainly try to, yeah. You try to? Yeah, absolutely. Would you admit that there are times when you don't? I will admit that I have occasion to be critical in ways. I always look for ways to be very fierce about distinctions in policy and calling out the politics of division and fear whenever I see it.
The Conservatives are terribly upset that I referred to them as practicing ambulance-chasing politics, but if they're upset, it's probably because it stings a bit.
So you promised criminal justice. Will you follow through on that?
I'm thinking back to a moment at the beginning of October when we were talking about the Terry Lynn McClintock issue with the Healing Lodge, and inside the House of Commons you called the Conservatives ambulance-chasing politicians, and it wasn't just in the heat of the moment, because then you came right back out and you said it again. How do you feel about that comment now? Does it reflect who you are as a politician? I think it does, because I won't make any apologies for calling out people who use the basest kinds of politics and fears to torque a situation. You've changed the policy subsequent to that. Yes, we did. Yeah. But they didn't recognize that they had done exactly the same thing 14 times while they were in office. And the fact that Terry Lynn McClintock was transferred to a medium security institution under the Conservative government, and she remained
in a medium security institution throughout the time that they were criticizing me showed that they were willing to exploit a horrific tragedy to a family, to a little girl, to try and score cheap political
Or they were
points.
trying to call attention to an issue that needed to be changed that you subsequently changed.
That was a change that they very much could have made if they were so outraged about it while they were busy doing it. I will not apologize for calling out the politics of cynicism, of fear, of division, of anger, of hatred.
Yeah, but that's not what you did. That's not what you did. You called them a name back. Ambulance chasing politicians. I wonder whether you think you should have said something different now.
I think it's extremely important to point out when people are playing the basest kinds of politics. Their decision to move forward and to make this an issue on the back of a terrible tragedy was something that was
But you changed the policy. It worked. And in that way, the opposition was doing its job. Whether you like the language they used is beside the point.
I think there's two things. First of all, yes, it is an opposition's job and responsibility to challenge, to call out, to say you should do things differently, you can do things differently. That's really important. But if they do it by exacerbating the polarization, the anger, the fear within an electorate, we start to walk down a very, very dangerous path. And I am always going to be very firm and unequivocal about calling out nastiness and negativity to that level in politics.
Can you be scrappy and still positive?
Absolutely. I think I can, and I think I do.
Have you learned anything about your temperament in this job? I have some observations, but I'll let you go first. I am extremely passionate about standing up for what I believe to be the truth and believe in my values. And I get offended when people rely on falsehoods, and I get irritated when people try and play fast and loose with facts or ignore facts entirely. I think that is weakening not just to our governance, but to our institutions and to our democracy. You're scrappy. Would you
I
say?
can be, yeah. I'm not going to sit by meekly as people weaken our institutions and our democracy.
And what is the difference between being scrappy and being full of sunny ways? Can you be scrappy and still positive?
Absolutely. I think I can, and I think I do. I mean, I always look for ways to bring people together, but I'm always going to be ready to argue a given point.
I was in New York last week, and I wandered into a store, and there was cups with your name on it, and socks, and all sorts of things. Do you ever worry that brand Trudeau sort of overtakes what you're trying to say and do, which I think to you is more important?
I think what we're seeing around interest in Canada on the world stage doesn't have as much to do with me as it does to do with what Canadians have been doing on the world stage for years and for generations.
It's your face attached to it. It's not the flag, or it's not
there's a mix of things associated with it, and if we can do a better job of highlighting what Canada is doing on the world stage and what we're doing at home with things like the Canada Child Benefit that's making such a big difference, then people will look and say, okay, they've got a solution to some of the really sticky problems that we're facing all around the world.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So, listening to that, we're less than a year away from the election. Rosie, what's your sense of how he's going to approach it?
Well, I mean, he's going to say the kinds of things he said in that interview, Adrian, that he's going to try and unify people and fight division and fear. But I think the other part of what he said in the interview is pretty important too, that he's scrappy. This is a guy who knows how to be a politician at this point, and he believes in what he's doing, and he's going to fight to the finish line. So it'll be a good less than a year to watch all of this. And of course, we'll try and talk to the other leaders too in the coming year. They have lots to say, and we want to hear from them. There is more, though, from my conversation with the Prime Minister on all of our social feeds, Facebook, Twitter, at CBC The National, and capture a bonus rapid fire round from what Trudeau is reading to why he just can't listen to podcasts. That's weird, but anyway, what else he'd do if he wasn't in politics. All of that online. If you could do any other job and you have to answer, what would it be?
I'd be a school teacher.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, no, that's
like aspirational.
But it's what I am.
Aspirational. Something you haven't done.
No, it'd be that.
Still ahead on the National, it's a massively popular and profitable game, but is Fortnite selling what it does not own?
For them to take that actual move and throw it in the game and rename it, swipe it, it's like, oh, let's steal it from him.
Why one rapper is suing the makers over a dance move. Next on the National. Okay, even if you've never seen this before, I promise you the kids in your life know exactly what it is. It's the video game mega fad called Fortnite. It's an online shooting and building game with characters you can personalize with special dance moves. So now get this, those moves, of all things, are the reason an American rapper is now suing the makers of Fortnite. He says they're making money off of his art. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson breaks down the case and the craze.
You've probably seen kids doing this dance move in real life or on YouTube. They saw it on the wildly popular video game Fortnite. Now, rapper 2 Milli, the man who created the move, wants the game's makers to pay him for using it.
Milli Rock is my craft, my everything. You know what I'm saying? It's my signature move. It is me.
What 2 Milli calls Milli Rock is called the Swipe It in Fortnite. The video game itself is free, but players spend money to unlock perks like little victory dances for their avatars. Swipe It is among the most popular and comes as part of a package that costs about $10 to buy.
For them to take that actual move and throw it in the game and rename it, swipe it, it's like, oh, let's steal it from him. 7, 8.
Toronto hip-hop choreographer Derek Robinson shares 2 Milli's outrage.
It's a very well-known move within the dance industry, and I've completely, if I had created something like that and known that this, multi-billion-dollar company is making money off something that I created, I would be furious as well.
In fact, some people have implied what Fortnite has done with 2 Milli's and other rappers' moves runs even deeper. Chance the Rapper tweeted about it in the summer, equating it to appropriation of black artists' talent for commercial gain. That allegation is also in 2 Milli's lawsuit. But proving that Milli Rock is a work of art, like a novel or a song, will be tricky.
Dance steps are, a segment of a choreographic work, but 1 or 2 dance steps, is that really sufficient to be an original work or not? So one of the issues in this case is really the extent to which a signature dance move, a couple of dance steps, is protected as a choreographic work or not.
On top of calls, my face hot. 2 Milli could also try to prove that the use of his signature dance steps in the game is misuse of his public image. The amount of money he's seeking is yet to be determined. He could also ask the court to bar the game creators from using his moves. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Next on the National, Mary Hatch has been dancing her whole life. Probably not the Fortnite moves, but other ones. Even at 88 and using a wheelchair, she's been known to bust a move. Her night out is our moment of the day.
Every time I hear music, I have to
dance,
get up and boogie.
But first, just hours till the conclusion of our investigation into one of Canada's largest unsolved mass murders, the bombing of Canadian Pacific Flight 21. For months, the National and CBC podcasts have been digging into this cold case. Tomorrow morning, you'll be able to download the final episodes of Ian and Johanna Wagstaff's podcast, Uncover, Bomb on Board, and tomorrow night, right here on the National, we'll bring you a documentary on the case. Here's a preview.
What is your destination?
CB21, Vancouver. Do you read?
A Canadian Pacific airliner has crashed in rugged country in the Caribou district of British Columbia.
Less than an hour after takeoff, an explosion sends CP-21 plummeting to the ground. All 52 people on board killed. Dee Dee Henderson was just 5 years old when her father was killed in the crash.
I, for one, will never forget this, because I lost a dear loved one in it, and so many other families too.
So you can see the documentary right here tomorrow night. If you're not already hooked on the podcast, there's still time to catch up. Subscribe to Uncover Bomb on Board on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There she is, sunglasses on her head, champagne glass in her perfectly manicured hand. As a former professional dancer, Mary Hatch knows how to travel in style. That is how she arrived at the Arthur Murray Dance Studio in Coquitlam, BC, in a limo, of course. Now, Hatch has spent her entire life dancing and being in the spotlight. Because of that, she has become a bit of a star at her care home, but her health has been deteriorating lately. So the home wanted to give her the opportunity to dance again, and that is our moment.
Oh, Mary, they're playing your song, Never on a Sunday. That's the song she asked for.
Mary's getting a little bit weaker now, so she's in a wheelchair, and we knew that she always loved to dance, so we thought we wanted to set this up.
Ever since I was little, I've always known her to be Ballet Grandma. That's actually my name for her. And then this one here, she was 1951 Chocolate Soldier, and then that's her in the middle.
This was all theater under the stars for 8 years.
She danced more for pleasure after her career. And like at weddings, she'd blow people away. Her and my grandpa would just take up the sweep up the dance floor, literally. People would just go to the edges and just watch the magic.
Every time I hear music, I have to
dance.
Get up and boogie.
You know, they didn't expect her to dance more than one song. They thought she couldn't handle it, but absolutely she could. You know, she was a dancer with Ballet BC for 8 years. She was a backup dancer for Sammy Davis Jr., so that's in her DNA now.
And could we just talk about how glamorous she still is at 88? That's a lesson for me with my non-manicured nails. Mary's out there flaunting her blue ones, so she's a model for us, really, Adrienne.
Oh, for me especially.
Pick up our shoes. All right, that's the National for Sunday, December 9th. Good night, everyone.
Good night.